Hey interwebs, Jackie K here, and this week on Pokemon Go Fireside Chat, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I think this is actually significantly different this time. So, the thing is, as you may know if you follow me on YouTube, I do upload Pokemon Go videos as well. I often, vlog the work I do. Though since I'm a little camera shy, I don't exactly show face. I don't even show locale too much, but I just like to log what I've done on the game. But if you're in the video editing biz, editing is a lot of work, so don't mind that. That's just a dog trying to break in, I believe. Does that from time to time. Anyways, I'm trying to resolve to make things a little easier on myself. Because I had stuck in my head a long time that even if no one was interested in the vlogs, that I still have to do them, if only to document my own adventures in the game and all. But I think I'm falling so far behind that it just seems impossible to catch up. And community days tend to have a similar feel. I can imagine, if only from the video viewer standpoint, unless you're going unique locales every time, I can imagine that watching community days just start to blend together after a while. So I'm trying to do something different this time, and instead of just go and make a vlog for each community day, I think I'm going to try doing a podcast instead. That way I can talk about individual things, what made them special to me, and I don't think I'd be missing out on too much on the video end. If there is anything significant, I'll probably still be recording it anyways, and I could just put it in before I upload it to YouTube, because when I'm uploading it, the podcast to YouTube, I have to upload it as a video format anyways, even if it's just a picture and sound. So I have to put it into the video editor anyways. So if I do got footage to share, putting that footage on top of what I'm talking about in the podcast for that particular community day overview just seems like it will be easier on me, so I'm going to try it out. Before I can do that though, I have a bit of catching up to do when it comes to community day, because I've been falling so behind, not to mention all the 2017 stuff that I haven't even touched. Yeah, I don't know if I ever will, but I'm holding on to the footage just in case. There were a lot of community days they missed out on. Some of them I didn't even film for because of the situation, so I figure it'd be best to summarize my experience just talking about them anyways. I'll be starting with Swinub Community Day and work my way up to Bagon. Unfortunately, Torchic Community Day won't be until next weekend, at least as of the time I'm recording this, so I'll just have to save Torchic's retrospective for his own little podcast. Oh, I forgot another perk of doing it this way was I don't have to have the excuse of not doing podcasts frequently, because every time there's a community day, there'll be a podcast, so there'll be a nice healthy bulk of podcasts for the iTunes, Google Play, and other audio listeners. And I'll have no excuse not to at least upload these by a bi-weekly basis. And apologies if some of these are short. Some of these are pretty old, so my memories of them may be a bit flaky. I'll do my best though. First one I really want to talk about is Swinub Community Day. First and foremost, this was a very eventful community day, because this was the first community day we've had a new evolution introduced through this particular type of event. Especially with Sinnoh Pokemon, we have had major news revolving around their release. I would consider the first batch of Sinnoh Stone evolutions a mini event of itself. Unfortunately, I don't remember the details of if there was anything else that made it special, or if it just was the fact that we were waiting for these evolutions for so long that made it feel like an event in and of itself. And while there's been things like Clan Pearl Research Day, where a new Pokemon was introduced through a Community Day-like event, we have not yet had a Community Day Pokemon released exclusively through Pokemon Go. It always exists somewhere out there in the mainframe. Community Days, I guess a controversial take on it, would be a way of retiring the rarity of a Pokemon. Think about it. I don't want to get too into it because it could be so deep of a topic in of itself. But think of how valuable Larvitar was before and after Community Day, especially if you actually took place during the Community Day. And I may be speaking more towards a hardcore group of my audience rather than the casual player. But man, Tyranitar is such a good and valuable Pokemon, and it still is, but I know I personally find myself not finding Larvitars as useful as they used to be. I think a better example would be Mareep. Mareep was such a rare mother trucker. Everyone remember of how hard people were struggling to get their Ampharos before Mareep Community Day? People were probably excited to actually get them out of 10-kilometer eggs back in the day. Then Mareep Community Day comes around and no one wants Mareep in their 10Ks anymore, and they bumped them down to 5-kilometer eggs, if even that, just because of how little no one wanted Mareep after Mareep Community Day. I don't want to get too much in this tangent though, because this is such a huge... The Community Day stuff is a huge topic in of itself. I swear there's a point to it though. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to recheck my own audio to see why that was. Oh yeah, you could view Community Day as the retirement of the rarity of a Pokemon. Because you take a Pokemon that people really want, and usually part of what makes people really want it is the rarity of it, plaster it everywhere for 3 hours straight, release their shiny forms, and make it one of the more easy ways to get a shiny in Pokemon Go, and call it an event. That's really dumbing down Community Day. Yeah, really dumbing it down to a point where I feel bad for saying that. But if you look at it from a pure statistical point, and not from the emotional standpoint of Community Day, that's basically what it does. And I only bring this up to emphasize the point that we've only had Community Days of Pokemon that have already existed into the game, and up to Swinub Community Day, even the evolutions weren't presented at Community Day. They've always existed beforehand. But with the release of Swinub Community Day, that has all changed. When we got the previous wave of Sinnoh Stone evolutions, there was a few Pokemon that are held back. I hate to say May 11th, 2019, about slowly approaching 3 months later, we still haven't gotten all the Sinnoh Stone evolutions. But I mean, we could have a whole nother discussion of why that is being stretched out, as long as it is, and if it's justifiable. Point being though, this was an event that we first had a new evolution introduced to us through Community Day, and I think that's a huge moment in of itself because of the new concepts that it could bring to Community Day as a whole. Honestly, before we had the reveal that Mammal Swine would be available during Swinub Community Day for the first time? Swinub was actually a controversial choice. And I guess it's all really dependent on your region and how common Swinub is. People who live in the Northern Hemisphere and just areas where snow actually occurs during a period of the year, Swinubs are just like rattatas to us. That's a slight exaggeration, but it's not a rare Pokemon. Though I do recall that Swinub's rarity is based on how far away from the equator you are. I hear like it's really common in the northern hemisphere, northern regions of the world, and the more south you go, the less common Swinub gets. So I guess an argument could be made for why it would be a good Community Day Pokemon for that reason. But it does leave you with the whole effect of like one part of the world could care less about more Swinubs, while another part of the world would really appreciate it. Adding the evolution just kind of brings everyone back together towards a common goal. And for that, I can appreciate it. The overall reception of this event could have been a lot more better if it wasn't for that evolution. And the way they did it was pretty cool too, because we were just at the edge of that time period where Sinnoh Stones were a bit of a rarity. They were taken out of the research breakthrough pool, at least as a guaranteed prize, and only recently put into the PvP trainer battle prize pool. So people were still looking for their Sinnoh Stones. So in any other circumstance, this could have led to some bitter people even still, because your big exclusive thing about the Community Day is a brand new evolution exclusive to an evolution item that's still kind of lacking. You may not have enough to get all the Mammal Swines you need. And let us recall, people were waiting on Mammal Swine with bated breath pretty much since the beginning of Generation 4, ever since people did the calculations and saw how much attack that Mammal Swine would have in Pokemon Go. It was already predicted to be one of the best ice attackers in the game, even outpacing some legendary Pokemon. So people weren't going to be just satisfied with one for their Pokedex. People would want at least a couple. And I think the way that they went about handling it so you would actually be able to get the Sinnoh Stones you need without directly handing them out was genius. I know it could be debatable that it was pretty much handed out, but hear me out, people are still getting used to the whole concept of doing PvP trainer battles in general for prizes, and I think this is a perfect way to get more people to use that mechanic. Essentially in the past, you could do 3 battles against one of your friends, or people you meant, for a prize. It could randomly be any assortment of prizes that included Sinnoh Stones, but often included Stardust. And then you had your one AI battle that you could do on that day as well. So an average day you could do 4 battles a day. Friday you get 5 prizes. Saturday you get 5 prizes. Sunday you get 5 prizes. But that's not even the end of it. You may think this was just 5 in total. What's the big deal? No, it was 5 battles against a human player, as well as 5 battles against an AI player. So that bumped it up to 10 prizes you could get in a day. Furthermore, on the day that your Community Day took place, where you were in a region where it was Saturday or Sunday, during that time frame, all 5 of your prizes were guaranteed Sinnoh Stone. Both the 5 you did against the gym leader, AI player, and the 5 you did against a friend. And you didn't even have to do that during the community day window, so you are already guaranteed 10 Sinnoh Stones during community day. More than plenty to get all the mammal swines you needed. Heck, just 5 is more than plenty with me for a single community day. Which is great, because having it that way allowed people who weren't able to find people to play with, or had child accounts that weren't allowed to make friends, they were still able to get 5 guaranteed Sinnoh Stones for the Swinub Community Day. I just can't stop praising how well that was implemented. That's not even the end of what made this whole event special. Either during the community day or right around that time, we were just recently being introduced to new types of moves that actually had special side effects during PvP. And they made Mammal Swine's special move for Community Day one of these moves, Ancient Power. In hindsight, it's kind of an underwhelming move and no one really cared for it. But just think about it from back then in this concept. We were just being introduced to a brand new way of moves. Like, for the longest time, we'd never think that moves beyond just doing damage would ever be introduced in Pokemon Go. They were just interestingly introduced, so people were still riding the hype on that. And we got a community day where we got access to one of these moves to try out for free. And honestly, I think the only reason that more people weren't excited for Ancient Power on community day was because they were already hyped about having Mamoswine as the best ice attacker, so a lot of people didn't want to waste their move slot on Avalanche or on Ancient Power when they could be trying to get an Ice Charge move for Mamoswine. So looking back at it, it was a really incredible community day. And that's not even including the generic bonuses like the fact that the Shiny was introduced, we got Stardust. I just really am excited about it just because of how, I guess different is right, but I'm also trying to think revolutionary. They could definitely apply this to a community day in the future. The fact that they haven't released shiny routes and the speculations they could be sitting on that, and the fact that they're sitting on giving us a very quick move, even though I personally would prefer if they just gave us a quick move without tying it to a community day. That way, it's only fair because if there was already other very quick moves and this was just a better one, I'd be more okay with the concept of making a very quick move the community day special. But please, Niantic, just give us a very quick move. I really would appreciate if you didn't tie it to a community day and just gave us an even cooler move for community day, but that's just my personal opinion. No. Man, I've been rambling on this one Pokemon that I've probably had the least interaction with on community day way too much as is. Let's get back on topic. Yeah, Swinub Community Day was pretty sweet. It was a shame that I spent it in an airport. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but Swinub Community Day took place right around the time I was going to Florida to have a family vacation at Universal Orlando for the week. So I was forced to have my Swinub Community Day at the airport, which is probably the most I've ever had to be restricted for a community day. But it was still pretty darn good. Like, it started as we were driving up to the airport, so to be able to catch some Pokemon in the process and introduce some family into how community day works in Pokemon Go. So they got a small taste of it, which would be useful for times coming up in the future. So yeah, I didn't record anything for it, and it honestly wouldn't have been too exciting if I did. I still think I made out pretty darn well considering my situation, because I did manage to get a couple shiny Swinubs, and if only because of the access of Swinub candy I had in advance, I was able to evolve, at least eventually, a full team of 6 Swinubs. I probably could have done it during Community Day, but I waited out for reasons that I explained before of agent power not being too useful, except maybe in very strict situations in PvP, and you would probably want Avalanche anyways. I probably actually evolved more Swinubs during Community Day than the average person would, solely because of the whole I was willing at the time to spend the Stardust and Candy to teach all of my Mammal Swines during Community Day a second move, so I could eventually get Avalanche on their moveset. Now, I pulled up the game now just so I could show you exactly how well that went. So I have counted here 3, 6, 7 Swinubs that are shiny, including one of my pride and joys, this $14.99 Pillow-Swine I have, that I feel like will be great for PvP. Actually brought it into Tempest Cup. Yeah, I think it was Kingdom Cup. Wish I could have used it more for that, but it was fun to have. Back on tangent though. No, not all of these were evolved during Community Days, but in total, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Mammal Swines. So I didn't do 6 after all. I probably could though, because I do have this lucky Swinub sitting around still, but I was hesitant to evolve it because it doesn't have perfect attack. Which is okay, because I have this lucky Mammal Swine with Agent Power and Avalanche sitting from a Community Day, so yeah. I could have made it a whole lot worse, considering the fact that I just spent all the Community Day in the airport. There was like 3 Pokestops I had access to, so I just caught every Swinub I could find, and it happened to work out. Oh, I should emphasize that not all of the Mammal Swines I caught were shiny. I think I only have 2 shiny Mammal Swines, and the rest were just regulars with good stats that I kept around. So yeah, having Pokemon ready in advance for a Community Day really helps you out, especially in the situation I was in. But dang it, we're almost at half an hour, and I've only talked about the least eventful Community Day of the bunch for me. Let me alleviate that. So next we have Trico Community Day. Just a simple starter to ease the Community Day hype. You know, starter, exciting Pokemon. But actually, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't find out until after the fact, but Trico kind of still gets outclassed by a couple grass types, but it's still a pretty good grass type, so if you had access to the Trico Community Day, but don't have too many Sinnoh Stones or something like that, taking advantage of this Community Day was still pretty good to have. You just would probably find yourself using it more for raids than you would in PvP. But I think what really made this Community Day hype was the shiny itself. I mean, before this we had Totodile, which is a slightly more very similar colors. Swinub, very distinct, but the dirty gold may not have appealed to some people, I guess. I'll be darned if I find someone who wasn't in love with shiny Trico when we were first finding out about the shiny form. It is pretty darn sweet, I have to admit. And while I'm pulling up Trico so I can show you exactly how cool it is, maybe I can go over some of the other perks of the Community Day. The major bonus for this event was a 1/4 egg hatching distance, which I could see why some people would consider the most underwhelming of the common community day bonuses, but it's still a pretty darn nice bonus. It really hurts the wallets of the people who actually pay money for the game, but it's also an incredible bonus for people who play for free. Because the people who pay go through their paid incubators a lot quicker. But so do the people who actually play for free, so you can actually get more eggs hatched out of your free incubator. And if I recall, there was maybe I'm mixing this up with another community, but I think there was an event that really helped benefit egg hatches at this particular time. So that would have definitely have added to this particular community. Yeah, I should have pulled it up on the Pokedex and not on the Pokemon, because I don't have the middle form. And honestly, all 3 forms are pretty darn sweet. I want to show them off. Yeah, you have Trico here, which is a really nice blue-green color with a red tail. You have Grovyle, which is pretty much the same blue-green that Trico has, but all of his leaves are that nice shiny red. And you got Sceptile here, which in comparison is probably the least cool shiny of the set, but not by too much. It's still pretty darn rad. It's got the red eyes. It's got a lot less red and a lot more blue than the other shinies. Like, the only red it has is those beady dots set on its back. But its whole darn body is that blue-green pale that the other evolutions have, and it is pretty darn sweet, if I gotta admit. And just quickly skimming through all the shinies we've had, I almost would say that it's the most exciting community day shiny that we've gotten just from looks alone. So it was pretty nice to actually be out and go catching for this one, even if in hindsight it may not have been the most exciting from a meta relevant point. Let me just re-pull up my vast collection of Tricos, which I emphasize so I can kick myself in the butt over how carried I got away with evolving them, more so than to rub in the fact that I got so many of them. Pardon me, I just noticed that my egg was not on an incubator, my free incubator, so I just fixed that real quick. So yeah, oh my god, no, did I really evolve that many? I thought I evolved 6, and I thought that was overkill, but no. Oh my god, I think the problem is I got so many Tricos that were either pretty high in level, or had perfect attack, that I couldn't stop myself from evolving them. I think I was foolish enough to try to evolve some for PvP as well, and I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say I could. This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me, and I apologize for it. Got 1 Sceptile. This has a special story behind it. 3 shiny Sceptiles. So in total, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I may have gotten a little carried away. If there's any assurance, I think I'm going to try to trade some of these Sceptiles if I ever come across someone who needs the community day move, because I do not need this many Sceptiles, but with how much candy I spent evolving that many, I would feel bad just to transfer them as is. But don't feel bad for me. I still have 500 Sceptile candies left over, and that's after maxing out one of these guys. So, funny story. Right around this time, I started a tradition where I try to find people on Community Day and actually trade that Community Day Pokemon with them as we're going through making our rounds catching the Pokemon. Because I wanted to have more lucky Pokemon that were actually from the Community Days. And I was trying so hard to get a lucky Trico before Community Day started. But despite the training I did, I had no luck. So I was doing trades with people as we're going for community. We even traded, like, we even swapped shiny treacles, which is probably going to be one of the... No, it's not even one of the shiny subtitles I still have. Point being, we were trading, and you might see where this is going. We got lucky during community, and the sweetest part about it all is, let me just appraise my subtitle and show you. Your subtitle looks like it can battle with the best of them. Its best qualities is HP. Its attack is great too. Its defense is great too. Its stats are the best I've ever seen. No doubt about it. The best perfect 2757 subtitle. Yes, I maxed out this subtitle after I evolved it, taught it a second move for the heck of it, and maxed it out. So that subtitle is probably going to go on every single raid team that focuses around grass type Pokemon. So in total, I got myself like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shiny treacles, not including the ones that are evolved. And way too many subtiles. It's a pretty fruitful community day. The hype behind getting that perfect lucky was pretty darn awesome. Pretty cool event, even if I could see some people arguing that it wasn't the most meta-relevant one. I feel like I'm downplaying it a bit though, because it's still a pretty darn good thing to have a couple subtitles with Frenzy Plan. It is the best move that it has. It's just that we've gotten so many good grass types, and we probably will be getting a couple more amazing grass types not too far into the future, that I can see how it could get outclassed. Last but not least, we have Bagon Community Day. This is probably another one that I won't have any footage to share, because I decided to take it a bit more casual for this one. Which I know people are going to say, Jackie K, you're being blasphemous. Draco Outrage Salamence is the best thing ever. How could you slack off on it? Well, good news for you, good viewer. I did not slack on it, despite taking it more casual. Even with slacking on it, I got myself like 6 Salamence. All of them are pretty decent. So don't worry about me, I am fine. In fact, I have too many dragon types now. I got between like all the... I think part of the reason why I wasn't so worried about going in hardcore for Bagon Community was because I had so many frickin' Dragonairs. Well, I guess I have Dragonairs too, but Dragon Knights. So many frickin' Dragon Knights. More than plenty than I would ever need for raiding. On top, so why I need more dragons? Because I guess I got caught up in the hype of all that. First and foremost though, why was I more casual with this one? Well, I decided I wanted to get friends and family more involved with community, like more so on the family side, because my friends were either too far away to actually play the game with them, or I met through Pokemon Go, so I didn't have to worry about like converting them to it or anything. But I spent that community day walking with my sister, going through the community walks and that. So what I ended up doing was spending an hour or so just walking with her. I had my phone open catching stuff, so in some sense might not know the difference until I kind of went down to the lakeshore where I never normally would play in Pokemon Go because the reception is terrible. Like your phone, the game dies when you go to the lakeside, at least in the community day area. Because you're right up next to Canada in that area, and cell reception just gets murdered. But it was fine because I pretty much just had the phone closed and just plus open during that area anyways. Because I was just like talking with my sister during that time. It was pretty fun too because I actually got her into a raid during that time. Yeah, we did a raid for one of those Giratinas, best ghost type attacker in the game during the raid, and she actually caught her first legendary. Granted, she only just started playing when we went up to Florida during Universal, aka like Swinub Community Day was the first time she played, and honestly she didn't play since going up to Florida. Was I getting at something? I guess my point with all that was I tried to take things more casual this time so I could actually spend community day with friends and family and not just grind. And it turned out to be fine anyways, because even without quote-unquote grinding, I got way more than I probably should have. If you want to count with me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shiny Bagons, not including ones already evolved into Salamence. And a total of 7 Salamence. One of them I only had because I evolved it before Community Day, and I don't have the heart in me to release it because it's a 96 percentile Salamence. And Draco Meteor is still an okay move, just not as good as Outrage. So yeah, I have way too many dragons. Too many dragons, too many cooks. Too many cooks, too many cooks. Anyone remember that YouTube poop? Even though it was neither that rhythm, wasn't a YouTube poop, or anything like that. And between you and me, I'll probably be transferring some shiny Bagons because Pokemon Go's a jerk and doesn't let me transfer any of the shinies I have into main series games or just some place I can archive and treasure all these beautiful Pokemon forever and forever without them taking up valuable bag space. But that would be our secret. That is still, point being, those were some pretty pleasant community days. I guess the best part about Community Day is they're always enjoyable. I always get to meet up with people that I usually only see on occasions. And it's nice when I can actually drag friends and family outside of Pokemon Go into it as well. Torchic Community Day is going to be pretty interesting. Because it's going to be the first Sunday Community Day we've had in a while. And which means I'm not going to be able to spend the entire night out in Community. I may even not stay for the full 3 hours. Though we'll see. I think the problem with past Community Days is staying too late is I stay beyond the Community Day window either to do raids or eat out or something like that. And I'm definitely not going to be able to do that when it's on a Sunday. Still, I'm pretty excited about the fact that it is on Sunday, because as I mentioned before, I know at least a friend or two that can never actually play Pokemon Go on Saturdays due to more personal obligations. So I may not be able to get as much excitement out of it as I typically would on a Community Day, but not because I have less excitement about it. Just because it's a shorter amount of time to be excited. And it's going to be really interesting because I think the internet's going to be pretty hype. I feel like my feed's going to be filled with so much more Pokemon Go Community Day talk this time compared to ones in the past. Because I feel like we're going to get a whole new set of audience that typically wouldn't be able to play Community Day because of how often they're on Saturdays lately. Between that and the weather getting nicer with it getting closer to spring, I just know in the back of my heart that we're going to have a repeat of Squirtle Community Day, where the whole internet is talking about it and just being excited over it. Not because of its super meta-relevant thing, even if this does end up being meta-relevant, but just because everyone's outside and having fun, and I couldn't ask for anything more out of Pokemon Go. That's all I got to talk about today, though. Thank you for just basically letting me ramble about... Well, just ramble about Community Day in general, just like... Not really even being too informative, but just being like... Man, this is why so many communities are so exciting, and maybe just spending way more time than I should flexing all my shinies at the internet. Maybe a little bit of that too. Thank you all again. If you did enjoy all my rambling, really appreciate it if you show your feedback. There's plenty of ways to do it too, you can, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can like the video, subscribe to my channel to support the video work I do over there. If you're watching this, or should I say listening to this on an audio feed, like it if it got the feature to do so. Leave an iTunes review if you have a chance to do so. Positive reception in general is going to be the biggest push to actually make myself consistent with podcasting. So I always appreciate when I go on SoundCloud to upload a new episode and I see that there's actually been some likes and new followers from some of the previous stuff I uploaded. You can also just send a message to me, either pretty much any places that I am on the internet. I'm definitely most active on Twitter though. That would be Jacket Stuff. It's about the same way you'll probably see Jacket K from me elsewhere. But take that K and put some stuff in at the end. Jeez, I say it so often like it's my model and I still screwed it up. It's probably just because I'm tiring out my voice again. Speaking of Twitter though, that is probably the best way to keep up to date with when I'm releasing new stuff. Though I do admit that I do a lot of retweeting memes and artwork and stuff like that, so if that's a little bit overwhelming to you, you can also check out my site. I'll have a link to it in the notes, whether it be the video description or the show notes. But that site pretty much has everything I do online organized. And the homepage should have a list of blogs that I use to update the general public, as well as a schedule for when I upload in general, whether it be podcasting or YouTube. Last but not least, I do have a Patreon. If you really want to show financial support, help me raise enough money to actually have more space on SoundCloud so I can actually keep more than the last 5 episodes that I've uploaded. Part of the reason I went back to uploading podcast episodes onto YouTube was so I can have that unlimited archive space. But I can understand that people would coming in, hearing the podcast the first time, may not be aware of my YouTube or that. They may want to see more episodes, but only be able to see a little bit of it, even though I have so much that I've already done in the past. Any earnings from Patreon go directly back into the channel. I have specific savings just for that. So things I would spend that money on would include equipment for new projects coming up on the YouTube channel, expanding SoundCloud so I can actually store more podcasts onto it, stuff like that. But if you can't afford to put anything towards the Patreon, don't worry. Positive support through comments, likes, and all that mean just as much, if not more, to me personally. And with all that said, I hope you tune back next time for another edition of Pokemon Go Fireside Chat. Take care.